It's time for the Northwoods Cooking Show. Starring Uncle Roy and Miss Callie, the troublemaking dog.
Hello and welcome to the Northwoods Cooking Show. I'm your host, Uncle Roy, and my lovely assistant, the tired Miss Callie Alice. Oh, Callie Alice, come here. Oh, come around to row, get in positions. Let people see you at home. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Come here. Oh, yeah. Say hello. And today we're going to be making homemade donuts. Woohoo! And these you can take and decorate any way you want to for any of the holidays. We are in the fall season and closer to Halloween, so I might do some Halloween colors to them, or we can just do some fall colors to them. And you can use any kind of colors you want to for Christmas, Easter, etc. But the cake donuts are a wonderful treat, so we're going to make those first. So first of all, we got to put in our dry ingredients. We're going to put those in a separate bowl. So all we need is 3 cups of flour and a tablespoon of baking powder. And I always tell people to do this too, that remember, if you don't cook a lot, which I do, and I don't worry about it, but that top layer of your baking powder and soda does become inactive. So you want to take and stir it up just to lighten it up and activate it more because it's not on the top. And we also need a ½ teaspoon of the kosher salt. And I always use the kosher because it has less sodium than iodized salt. And it makes all your baking products much lighter and fluffier. It really does. It's an excellent product. I love the kosher salt. In fact, Pam Sherman from the Pam Sherman's Bakery, she's the one that taught me and turned me on to kosher salt. She did that in all her baking. And she had the bakery and does a lot of healthy and vegetarian type cooking and stuff. So I know she knows what she's talking about. So I always use the kosher. And we need 2/3 cup of sugar. All these dry ingredients are going to go into the bowl here, and we're mixing these separately, along with a ½ teaspoon of nutmeg. And the nutmeg is what gives it a great homey taste to it. I know when we were growing up as kids, Mom and I always made fried donuts, cake donuts. We even did yeast donuts, and we'll make those sometime too. Those are really fun to make. But we always made these all the time because we couldn't afford, to go into town. We were like 17 miles from town. And we only did our shopping like once a month. And so we always get our ingredients. And Mom and I would always make our treats at home all the time. And in this too, we need 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. And you don't have to take and go out and buy the fancy zesters and everything else. A lot of us, most people have these little tiny graters anyway, you use for potatoes and stuff. The little tiny holes, that's your zester. So you can just take and add that, use that on the bottom there for making zest. It's really simple. Because some of those zesters, God, I've seen them like, $10, $15 for one. When you get these cheap little things and they're fine. But anyway, this is all of our dry ingredients. We mix these up well. And I always use that wire whisk. That helps to aerate and get the products more fine and mixed thoroughly together. Then, in a separate bowl for our liquid ingredients, we need 2 eggs. Oh, recyclables. And we're going to take and beat these first, because you want these to be incorporated into all of the liquid. So it's much easier if you beat them up first rather than have all the liquids mixed together. You can't really get the yolks mixed in quite well enough then. So you just want to break it up, and it makes the mixing together with the other ingredients much easier. And to this we need 1/3 cup of our melted butter, along with 2 teaspoons of vanilla. This is my special, expensive vanilla. Ooh. Williams-Sonoma, $20 a bottle. Ooh. And along with a 1/2 cup of milk. Now I'm using buttermilk because I like to give it a much more unique flavor. It gives it a more home-style flavor too by having the buttermilk. It tastes so much better than just plain milk. But plain milk can work just as well too. In fact, that's what the recipe calls for. And I just like to take and put in buttermilk. You want to mix this well because you want to get in that melted butter. Blend it in with the milk and everything. And then this goes right into our dry ingredients. Just make a well in the middle and just pour that in. And because this is a quick bread recipe, you'll find that in your cookbooks. In the quick beds, it's with all, muffins and scones and pancakes, etc. All those recipes are in your quick bread section. Donuts will be in there too. But because it's a quick bread, you don't want to overmix this. You want to use a wooden spoon and mix it by hand so we don't activate that gluten. Otherwise, you're going to have really tough, rubbery donuts. We want light and fluffy donuts. And you just want to mix this until all the ingredients are moistened. So you want to dig deep, fold these over, and then we're going to take and put this in a Ziploc bag and refrigerate for an hour. Let's plop this right in. And then we'll just put this into the refrigerator for about an hour, and then we'll be back to roll them out. Okay, now that our dough is chilled, we're going to take and roll this out. And you want to put on a little lightly floured countertop. And we're going to roll this out to approximately about a 1/2 inch thick. And this is going to be kind of like the pie crust in a way. You want to try to get out as many as you possibly can, because every time you take and re-roll, you're going to be adding more flour to that. And that's going to make it tougher and more rubbier. So you want to try to get in as many donuts as you possibly can in one setting, one rolling. And we're going to put these on a cookie sheet and make sure that your cookie sheet is flour too, because you don't want the donuts sticking to the cookie sheet. And we just dip in our cookie cutter, our donut cutter, and then we'll just lay these onto our sheet. You just put like holes on one side and your donut rings on the other. And just try to get them as close as you possibly can. You want to keep dipping that though, so it doesn't stick. And then we'll get ready to deep fry. Okay, now we're going to fry our donuts. All we have to do is just lay these in gently into your hot oil. And when they get to be a light golden brown, then we just take and turn them over and fry the other side. Doesn't take very long at all. Oh, she's on Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel Patrol. Oh. And then when these are nice and golden brown, and then we turn them over and we take them out, put them on another cookie sheet lined with a newspaper, and this will absorb all the excess grease. And you can use like a barbecue tong fork if you want to, because it is a hole, and then you can turn them over. Or I like to use like these metal scoopers, kind of like a kitty scooper. It's not, it's for food. But that helps really, it's really nice because it lets the oil drip through. And then we'll cook these off, and then we'll go back into the kitchen and decorate them. Here's our donuts. Check the bottoms. Oh, nice and golden brown. Time to turn them over. Okay, now these are our donuts. These I took and just shook in plain brown powdered sugar. Now I'm going to take and put some in just plain sugar, and just put them in a little Ziploc bag. Very simple. And just shake them up. Then we'll just take and do some glazes. And for this, we just take and put in our powdered sugar, put in a little bit, and just add a few drops of hot water. Just a little bit. Until you get a nice thin glaze consistency. If it's too thin, you added too much water, you just need to add a little bit more powdered sugar and vice versa. If it's still too thick, just add a little bit of water. So you want to do this, a little bit of increments at a time, because if you have too much water, which I did, the powdered sugar melts and reacts to it right away. So it's always, you can always add more, but you can't take it out. And if you want chocolate glaze, you can mix in some cocoa powder in with this too. Or melt some unsweetened chocolate if you want a really chocolatey flavor. You can melt chocolate and put that in there with it. And then we just take our donuts and just dip them in. Now this is for more frosted. If you want it more even glazier, you can even make that thinner. So just swirl and twirl it. And while it's moist, this is when you put on your sprinkles. And just dip that in. And we got little sprinkles. Ooh, Callie, look at those lovely donuts. Ooh, even the holes. A little sugary. Mmm. Well, Callie, good donuts, weren't they? Mmm. Yeah, she ate the little holes. Oh, little Piggly Wiggly ate the holes. Oh. Now let's go on to another old-fashioned dessert, a blueberry cobbler. Mmm. Sound good, don't it, Callie? Ooh. And this is made with my blueberries that I picked up in Chaplin, the Bauer Berry Farm, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Still have a whole, I still have bags of them in the freezer, just tons of them. Oh, I picked a ton. I still got more yet. So anyway, we'll make this blueberry cobbler. This is really simple and easy and delicious. And we're gonna start out with an 8-inch square pan. And you wanna take and spray it, just to keep everything from sticking, because cobblers are kind of messy and syrupy. So you wanna make sure you spray that well. And I have my oven on at 350 degrees, that's preheating. And in this pan, directly in the pan, we got 2.5 cups of frozen berries, and you can use fresh if you want, along with a teaspoon of vanilla. And I still have that expensive vanilla. So everything's gonna be tasting really, really good when I use this stuff. Competition fair stuff, ooh, important. And we need the juice of half a lemon. Oh, squeeze that in there. And then we just take and stir that around, mix this together. The lemon juice, oh, this will have a little piece of seed. There we go. Lemon juice, vanilla, and the berries, just mix this around. And to this, 1 cup of sugar, And a half teaspoon. I got my half teaspoon back. Half teaspoon of flour. I broke down, went to the dollar store and got a new set of measuring spoons. Because remember, my half teaspoon on the other set broke and went down the garbage disposal. These are Betty Crockers. Oh, dollar store. There's Betty Crocker right across there. Anyway, so now we take and mix this in together. The sugar, flour, oh, and a tablespoon of melted butter. And this is going, you want to mix this well though, because you got that little flour in there, and that's going to be a thickener. So you want to make sure this is well mixed. Okay, now in the food processor, we're going to be putting in 1 3/4 cup of flour. And of course, remember to level that off. This is all going right in the processor. One and a half. And a fourth makes 3. And 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Now this is going to be the cobbler part. This is going on top. So this is going to rise to the occasion, especially with all this baking powder. 2, 3, 4. And we need 6 tablespoons of sugar, which is 4/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. Which is 1/4 cup and 1/8 of a cup. Then we'll just take and pulse this up just to get it mixed. And to this, we're going to be adding 5 tablespoons of cold butter. It's kind of like making making my pie crust. Because then we're going to take and pulse this together until we get the texture of a coarse cornmeal. And you want to make sure it's cold, because then it breaks down. If it's warm, it's going to get all mushy in there, and we don't want to melt it. Then we can transfer this into and we'll take and make a well in the middle. And to this we need 1 cup of cold milk. And I'm going to use buttermilk instead, just to give it a nice richer flavor. Ooh, Callie, it's going to be gorgeous. This recipe is in the category of quick breads. So when you mix this together, you only want to mix this until it's moistened. It's going to make a batter. We don't want to over mix it because we don't want to activate that gluten and get a tough cobbler crust. So as soon as it's all moistened, then we stop, and that's it. Now, we're going to just let this sit. I'm going to put a little piece of saran wrap over this, or you can just, put a cover on it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not, we're not going to raise it, or it's not anything like that. It's just, I'm just covering it just to keep it clean, so no dust, dirt get in there, whatever, because we got to let this sit for 20 minutes. And you know around the house how everything, you know, dirt, dust, everything, etc., flies around. You never know what can happen. Dog hair, everything else. So we just want to let this sit for 20 minutes and then we'll come right back and put that on top of our cobbler. Okay, now I had the oven, it's supposed to be at 375, not 350. Sorry about that. And we're also going to mix up in this container cinnamon and sugar, which is 2 teaspoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And this is a little sprinkle topping. And now we just take and spoon our batter over the top. And this is like a rough cut, so it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you want to take and have some holes around here when you drop it so that the berries peek through. So just plop, plop, plop. Doesn't have to be perfect because cobblers are kind of messy. That's what makes them into a cobbler compared to a crisp, where crisp is more flat and uniform. Cobblers are more plop, 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 spoon done. So it doesn't really matter how you put this on. You kind of sort of want it evenly spread apart though. You want it, you know, really high and low. It's gonna foam up or raise up and fill in. Then sprinkle that cinnamon sugar all over the top. And we put this in the 375 degree preheated oven for about 20 to 25 minutes or until the crust is golden brown. And you can tell when it's done when you stick a knife in and it comes out clean. Of course, the tip of the knife is going to come out all covered in blueberries, but the cakey part, the cobbler part, is going to come out clean. So we'll put this in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes, and then you want to let it cool until it's warm. And then it serves really good when it's warm. You don't want to serve it hot, because that berry sauce in there is going to be extremely hot and it'll burn the roof of your mouth and your tongue. So you want this to cool for a good 10-15 minutes. And then we'll just bake that, and we'll come back and see what it looks like. And I'm sure Miss Callie will be back up from the basement from hiding when the food's all done. Oh, Callie Alice, how was that? Oh, she came up, ready to eat. Ooh, look at her. Samples. Oh, samples. She knows the word samples. Like this. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, she'll come. Look at her. She'll start drooling here any second. Get a spatula. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Blueberry cobblers. Ah. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh no, first piece is always hard to get off. And we get some of the sauces. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. That's a blueberry cobbler. Ooh, moisty, moisty. I'll give a close-up of that, Callie. And that's our blueberry cobbler. Ooh, isn't that good, Callie? Now, this is the question and answer period part of our show. If you have any questions for Callie or I on cooking, canning, gardening, crafts, etc., please feel free to write us at the Northwoods Cooking Show at yahoo.com, and we'll try to get back to you and answer as best we possibly can. Is that right, Callie? And if we use your question on the air, Callie Alley gets her treat. Oh. Let's see who wrote us this week, Callie. Oh. 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 Oh, yeah, in positions. Crunch, crunch. Dear Uncle Roy and Miss Callie, how do you make fluffy cupcakes? signed Jean of Bremerton, Washington. Oh, Bremerton, Washington. That's all our friends up there. Oh, hello, Bremerton. Well, Jean, yeah, fluffy cupcakes. I teach this with all my making my cakes and quick breads and stuff, but with making your cakes and cupcakes, same thing. The best way to do that, to get them really fluffy, is to incorporate your fat, which is your butter, and your sugars. You want to make sure that those are blended well together. You want to make sure that those sugar crystals are dissolved. Now, when I mix it up in the mixer, I beat up my butter, usually for like 30 seconds or so, just to break it up, put it on a high speed, and then add my sugar in slowly at a time, a little at a time. Then when it's all incorporated, you let that beat for at least 3.5 to 4 minutes, the butter and sugars. And that'll get nice and fluffy. And fluffy means that the sugar is dissolved in the butter. And that makes it light and airy and fluffy. Now, when you add your flours and stuff and you beat in to get more air, that's overbeating. And as I always teach everybody, if you overmix with the flour, it's going to tighten up and get hard on you. And you're activating the gluten in the flour. And that's how you get harder, rubbery cupcakes, because you're overmixing. But the creaming of the mixture, the butter and sugar, is what makes it fluffy, because you want to get that fat mixed in with the sugar until the sugar is well dissolved. Then stir in your dry ingredients rather than using the mixer, because over-mixing is going to make it go hard and flat. It's the butter and sugar. That needs to be dissolved very well, and like I said, 3.5 to 4 minutes. So I hope that answers your questions, Jeannie. And from Miss Callie and myself, oh, samples? Ooh, they're a little hot. Get over here. Turn around, get in positions. Turn around, come here, get over here. We like to say, healthy eating, be safe, oh, and spread the sunshine. Oh, say goodbye, Callie Ellis. Oh, say goodbye. Yeah, oh, yeah. Blueberry cobblers. Yeah. Come. Don't bite my finger.